The ship was falling apart. Jiho felt his body slam against the metal wall as the new soul spun out of control. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. The sound of breaking metal filled the air. Outside the small window he could see the gray surface of the moon getting closer and closer. "Hold on," someone screamed. Then everything went black. Jiho woke up to the sound of wind, cold, angry wind that seemed to cut right through the broken ship. His head hurt badly. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. He tried to stand up, but his legs felt weak. The ship was a mess. Broken pieces of metal and glass covered the floor. Most of the lights were dead. Only a few emergency lights still worked, giving everything a red glow. The main door was bent and twisted. Cold air rushed in through cracks in the walls. "Hello?" Jiho called out. His voice sounded small in the broken ship. "Is anyone alive?" He heard a groan from somewhere behind him. Jiho turned around and saw a woman trying to get up from under a fallen piece of ceiling. She had long black hair and wore the blue uniform of a scientist. "I'm okay," she said, but her voice was shaky. "I think." Jiho knew her. Her name was Yuna. She was the team's alien language expert. She could talk to the Vorthak aliens they were working with. "Where are the others?" Yuna asked as Jiho helped her stand up. Jiho looked around the ship. His heart sank. He could see the Vorthak crew members. All 5 of them were not moving. Their tall, gray bodies lay still on the floor. Their big eyes were closed. The special suits they wore to stay warm were broken and smoking. "They're dead," Jiho said quietly. Yuna walked over to the nearest Vorthak. She knelt down and checked for signs of life. She shook her head. "They can't handle cold like we can. When their heating suits broke..." She didn't finish the sentence. Jiho felt scared. The Vorthak were supposed to be the smart ones. They had better technology. They knew more about space travel. If they were dead, what chance did 2 humans have? He walked to what was left of the control room. Most of the computers were broken, but one small screen still worked. It showed the outside temperature, minus 80 degrees, and it was getting colder as the sun set on this frozen moon. "We need to find supplies," Jiho said. "Fast." They searched through the wrecked ship. Most of the food was scattered and ruined. The communication system was completely broken. The main power was dead. But they found some useful things. Yuna discovered a box of emergency food bars. There were enough for maybe 3 days if they ate very little. Jiho found a small heating unit that still worked, but barely. It would only keep a tiny area warm. The best thing they found was in the crew quarters, a military sleeping bag still in its case. The label said it was made for extreme cold weather. "This might save our lives," Jiho said, holding up the sleeping bag. Yuna nodded. She was looking at a small device in her hands. "I found this in the Vorthak equipment. It's their emergency beacon, but I don't think it's calling for human help." "What do you mean?" Jiho asked. "The Vorthak have their own rescue system. They might come looking for their crew, but..." She looked worried. "I don't think they care much about saving humans." Jiho felt his stomach drop. He knew the Vorthak thought humans were not very important. They saw humans as useful, but not equal. If a Vorthak rescue ship came, they might just take the alien bodies and leave the humans to die. They found a small room that was less damaged than the rest of the ship. The walls were mostly whole, which would help keep the cold out. Jiho set up the small heating unit in the corner. It gave off a weak warm glow, but it was better than nothing. Yuna arranged their few supplies. The food bars, some water bottles that weren't frozen yet, and a few tools. It wasn't much. "How long do you think we have?" she asked. Jiho looked at the heating unit. "Maybe 2 days before this burns out. After that..." He didn't want to say it out loud. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Through the cracks in the walls, they could see it was getting dark. On this moon, night lasted 14 Earth hours, and night was when it got really cold. "The temperature will drop to minus 100 tonight," Jiho said, reading the broken computer. "Maybe worse." Yuna wrapped her arms around herself. Even with her thick jacket, she was already shivering. Will the heating unit be enough? Jiho looked at the small device. It was barely the size of a lunchbox. Not for both of us. They sat in silence for a while. Both of them knew what this meant. The heating unit could maybe keep one person from freezing, but not two. And they only had one sleeping bag. We could take turns, Yuna suggested. But her voice showed she didn't really believe it would work. Jiho shook his head. If one of us gets too cold, we both die. There's no way to warm someone up again with so little heat. As if to prove his point, Yuna's teeth started to chatter. The sun was almost gone now. The temperature was dropping fast. She looked at the sleeping bag, then at Jiho. Her face was scared but determined. We need to think of something, she said, because I'm not ready to die on this frozen rock. Jiho nodded. But as the wind howled outside and the cold crept into their small shelter, he wondered if thinking would be enough. The night was coming, and it was going to be the longest, coldest night of their lives, if they lived through it at all. The temperature kept dropping. Jiho watched the broken computer screen as the numbers got worse. -90 degrees, then -95. The small heating unit worked as hard as it could, but the cold was winning. Yuna sat on the other side of their tiny shelter. She had wrapped every piece of cloth she could find around her body, but Jiho could see her shaking. Her lips were turning blue. This isn't working, she said through chattering teeth. Jiho knew she was right. The heating unit was too small. The cold air came through every crack in the walls. Soon they would both freeze to death. Yuna looked at the sleeping bag. Then she looked at Jiho. Her face was red from the cold, but also from embarrassment. I need to ask you something, she said. Her voice was quiet. And I know it's not normal. Jiho waited. I need to share the sleeping bag with you, Yuna said quickly. I won't make it through the night alone. Neither will you. For a moment, Jiho didn't say anything. They barely knew each other. They had only worked together for a few weeks before this mission. Sharing a sleeping bag meant being very close to each other. But then he looked at her blue lips and shaking hands. He thought about the dead Vorthak aliens, frozen in their broken suits. He thought about the 14-hour night ahead of them. You're right, he said. We have to survive. Nothing else matters. Yuna's face showed relief. Thank you. They moved the sleeping bag closer to the heating unit. Jiho unzipped it all the way. It was big enough for 2 people, but just barely. They would have to lie very close together. I'll go in first, Yuna said. She still had her jacket and boots on. You can get in after. Jiho turned away while she got into the sleeping bag. When she was ready, he carefully got in beside her. The sleeping bag was warm inside, much warmer than the air around them. This is better, Yuna said. I can feel my fingers again. They lay side by side, staring at the low ceiling of their shelter. Outside, the wind sounded like an angry monster. The heating unit made a soft humming sound. Red light from the emergency lamps made shadows dance on the walls. One of us should stay awake, Jiho said, to watch the heating unit and to listen for rescue ships. I'll take the first watch, Yuna said. You sleep first. But Jiho couldn't sleep. His mind was too busy thinking about their situation. After an hour, he gave up trying. Can't sleep either? Yuna asked. Too much to think about. They talked quietly in the darkness. Yuna told him about her work studying alien languages. She had learned to speak with 7 different alien species. The Vorthak language was the hardest because they thought in very different ways than humans. They don't understand cooperation like we do, she explained. When a Vorthak is in trouble, other Vorthak don't automatically help. They have to think about what they get in return. Jiho found this interesting. What do you mean? For us, if we see someone drowning, we jump in to save them. We don't think about it. But Vorthak think first. What do I gain? What do I lose? Is this person useful? To me? Jiho told her about his job designing heating systems for space stations. He had always been good at solving problems with limited materials. My grandmother used to say I could fix anything with tape and wire, he said with a small laugh. Is that how you knew the heating unit wouldn't work for both of us? Yuna asked. I did the math in my head. The heat output versus the space we need to warm. It's just not enough. He paused. But this sleeping bag changes everything. Our body, heat helps. Working together helps. After 3 hours, they switched. Jiho stayed awake while Yuna tried to sleep. He watched the heating unit carefully. The fuel gauge was going down slowly, but steadily. He calculated they had maybe 30 hours of heat left. That would get them through this night and part of the next day. But then what? While Yuna slept, Jiho looked through the equipment they had gathered. He found something interesting in the Vorthak gear, a small device with blinking lights. It looked like some kind of recorder. He couldn't read the Vorthak writing on it, but when he pressed a button it made sounds. Vorthak voices speaking in their clicking, whistling language. When Yuna woke up for her next watch, Jiho showed her the device. It's a mission log, she said, listening to the sounds. Let me translate. She listened for several minutes. As she did, her face grew worried. What is it? Jiho asked. This is bad. Really bad. Yuna's voice was tight with anger. Listen to this. The mission commander is talking about the real purpose of this expedition. She translated as the device played. Research Phase 7 is going well. The humans show good survival skills in moderate cold environments. Next, we will test their limits in extreme cold. If they can survive where we cannot, they will be useful for colonizing ice worlds. Jiho felt his blood turn cold, and not from the weather. They were using us as test subjects? Yuna nodded grimly. It gets worse. She fast-forwarded the recording. Here. The commander says, if the humans fail the extreme cold test, we will report their deaths as an accident. The other humans must not know about our survival experiments. They planned for us to die, Jiho said quietly. And if we had died, no one back on Earth would ever know the truth. They lay in silence for a while, sharing the warmth of the sleeping bag and thinking about what they had learned. The Vorthak hadn't just brought them on this mission to help with research. They had brought them to see if humans could survive in places too dangerous for Vorthak. The funny thing is, Yuna said after a long pause, it's working. We are surviving, where they couldn't. Because we're working together, Jiho added, something they couldn't do. Outside the wind was getting quieter. That meant the worst of the night was passing. But they still had hours to go before sunrise. Jiho, Yuna said, yes? When we get rescued, we need to tell people about this recording. If we get rescued, Jiho said. When? Yuna said firmly. We're going to make it, because that's what humans do. We survive. As the long night continued, they took turns sleeping and watching. They shared their warmth, their food, and their hope. And slowly they began to understand something important. The aliens thought humans were weak, but the aliens were wrong. Humans had something better than technology. They had each other. 3 days had passed since the crash. Jiho woke up in the sleeping bag next to Yuna. It was their normal routine now. They took turns sleeping and watching. They shared body heat every night to stay alive. What had felt strange at first now felt natural. Morning, Yuna whispered. Morning, Jiho replied. Outside their shelter, the sun was rising. During the day, the temperature went up to -40 degrees. Still very cold, but better than the deadly nights. Their heating unit was almost out of fuel. Jiho had calculated they had maybe 6 hours left. After that, they would only have each other's warmth to survive. We need to find more power, Jiho said as they shared breakfast. One food bar split between 2 people. Their supplies were running low. Yuna pointed to the Vorthak equipment scattered around the ship. What about their stuff? Can you use any of it? Jiho had been thinking about this for 2 days. The alien technology was much more advanced than human equipment, but it was also different. The Vorthak used power sources that humans didn't understand. Maybe, he said. Let me look closer. They spent the morning examining the alien gear. Most of it was broken from the crash, but Jiho found something interesting. A Vorthak heating unit that was bigger than theirs. It was damaged but not completely destroyed. Their heating system works differently, Jiho explained to Yuna. They use thermal crystals instead of fuel. These crystals can store heat for a long time. Can you fix it? Jiho looked at the broken alien device. Then he looked at their dying human heater. Maybe I can combine them. Use the human parts to control the alien crystals. He worked for hours. Yuna helped by translating the alien writing on the equipment. She also found tools in the Vorthak medical kit that worked better than the human tools they had. This is interesting, Yuna said, looking through the medical supplies. The Vorthak medicine is meant for their biology, but some of it might help us too. She found pain medicine that worked on many different species. She also found something that could help their bodies use energy better in cold weather. According to this, she said, reading the alien labels, this medicine helps with survival in extreme environments. It was designed for different species working together. Different species like humans and Vorthak? Jiho asked. Exactly. They made it for missions like this one. They both thought about what this meant. The Vorthak had planned for humans to be in dangerous situations. They had even made medicine to help humans survive. This wasn't a normal research mission. It was a survival test. By afternoon, Jiho had made progress with the heating system. He connected the human control unit to the alien thermal crystals. It was not pretty, but it worked. Look at this, he said proudly. The combined heater gave off much more warmth than their old one. You're amazing, Yuna said with a smile. How did you know how to do that? My grandmother always said, different tools, same problems. Heat is heat. Power is power. Doesn't matter if it comes from humans or aliens. That evening, they found more recordings on the Vorthak devices. Yuna translated them while they sat close to their new, improved heater. This one is from the expedition leader, she said. He's talking to someone back on the Vorthak homeworld. The recording was long. As Yuna translated, both humans learned more disturbing facts. He says, Phase 1 complete. Humans survive moderate cold better than expected. Phase 2, extreme cold test. Phase 3, if humans survive, we will use them to explore ice worlds too dangerous for Vorthak. Jiho felt angry. They want to use us as expendable workers. It gets worse, Yuna continued. He also says, human cooperation is their strength, but also their weakness. They help each other even when it hurts their own survival. This makes them predictable. Predictable? Jiho asked. Yuna thought about this. They think helping each other makes us weak. They think we're stupid for caring about others. But we're alive and they're dead, Jiho pointed out. Exactly. They don't understand that our cooperation makes us stronger, not weaker. That night, as they settled into the sleeping bag again, they talked about what they had learned. Think about it, Yuna said. When their heating suits failed, each Vorthak died alone. They didn't share warmth, they didn't help each other. Because their culture doesn't work that way, Jiho agreed. Each individual thinks about themselves first, but we shared the sleeping bag immediately. We worked together to improve our heating, we split our food equally. We take turns staying awake to protect each other. Jiho realized something important. They think cooperation is weakness, but it's actually our greatest strength. And they can't copy it, Yuna added. Their minds don't work that way. They can't just decide to cooperate better. It's not in their nature. On the fourth day, Yuna made another discovery. She found data files about other human test subjects. The Vorthak had been running survival experiments on humans for months. Look at this data, she said, showing Jiho the alien computer. Humans in desert heat, humans in underwater pressure, humans in high radiation zones. How many humans have they tested? Jiho asked. Dozens. And look at the survival rates. Yuna's voice was excited. Humans survive in extreme conditions much better than any other species the Vorthak know. Because we adapt. Because we help each other adapt. Every successful test involved humans working together. Every failure happened when humans were tested alone. That afternoon, their emergency beacon started beeping. A ship was coming. Rescue? Jiho asked hopefully. Yuna looked at the beacon's display. Her face fell. It's a Vorthak ship. They looked at each other with worry. The Vorthak ship would find 2 human survivors. But would it rescue them? Or would it see them as witnesses who knew too much about the secret experiments? We need to hide the recordings, Yuna said quickly, and we need to decide what to tell them. Should we tell them we know about the experiments? Yuna thought carefully. Maybe, but not right away. Let's see what they do first. Outside, they could hear the sound of engines getting closer. The Vorthak rescue ship was landing. Jiho, Yuna said as they got ready to meet their rescuers. Whatever happens, we survived when they couldn't. That's not weakness, that's strength. Jiho nodded. Human strength. The ship landed with a loud roar of engines. Through the cracks in their shelter, they could see lights moving outside. The Vorthak had arrived, but were they here to rescue the humans? Or to cover up their deadly experiments? Jiho and Yuna looked at each other one last time before opening the door. They had survived the cold together. Now they would face whatever came next together too. Because that's what humans do. The Vorthak rescue ship was huge. Jiho and Yuna watched through the broken walls of their shelter as the alien ship landed outside. It was 5 times bigger than their crashed transport. Steam rose from its landing engines, melting the ice around. Stay calm, Yuna whispered to Jiho. Let them talk first. 3 Vorthak came out of the ship. They were tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. They wore thick environmental suits to protect them from the cold. Even with the suits, Jiho could see them moving carefully, like the cold still bothered them. The lead Vorthak was bigger than the others. He had marks on his suit that showed he was important. When he spoke, his voice came through a translator device. Humans, he said, sounding surprised. You are alive. Yes, Yuna replied in the Vorthak language. We survived the crash. The alien's big eyes looked even bigger. You speak our language well. I am Commander Zek. We came to recover our crew and equipment. The Vorthak crew is dead, Jiho said simply. They died when their heating suits failed. Commander Zek looked at the other 2 aliens. They made clicking sounds to each other that the translator didn't pick up. Jiho could tell they were worried about something. Show us to our crew, Commander Zek ordered. Yuna led them into the crashed ship. The Vorthak commander looked at his dead crew members. His face showed no emotion. But the other 2 aliens seemed upset. How did you survive when they could not? Commander Zek asked. We worked together, Jiho said. We shared heat, food, and took turns staying awake. Shared? The commander's voice sounded confused. You gave up your own resources for the other. Human. Of course, Yuna said. That's how humans survive. Commander Zek looked around their shelter. He saw the improved heating unit that Jiho had built. He saw how they had organized their supplies. He saw the sleeping bag where they had kept each other warm. You combined our technology with yours, he said, pointing at the heater. Yes, Jiho said proudly. Your thermal crystals work well with our control systems. How did you know how to do this? I figured it out. Yuna helped by translating your equipment labels. The commander looked at the other aliens again. They were making more clicking sounds. Jiho could tell this was not going the way they expected. You will come with us, Commander Zek said. We will return you to human space. Thank you, Yuna said. But then she made a decision. Commander, we found something you should know about. She pulled out the Vorthak recording device. Commander, Zek's eyes got even wider when he saw it. We listened to your mission logs, Yuna said in the Vorthak language. We know this wasn't a research mission. You understand our private communications? The commander's voice was sharp now. I understand. That you were testing humans, Yuna said, switching back to human language so Jiho could follow. You wanted to see if we could survive where you cannot. Commander Zek was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, What do you think you know? Jiho stepped forward. We know you've been running survival experiments on humans for months. We know you plan to use us as workers on dangerous worlds. We know you were willing to let us die and call it an accident. And we know something else, Yuna added. We know you're afraid. Afraid? Commander Zek's voice was angry now. Of humans? Impossible. You're afraid because we can do things you can't, Jiho said. We survived when your crew died. We improved your technology. We worked together when your people would have competed against each other. Yuna played part of the recording, even though it was in the Vorthak language. Commander Zek could hear his own expedition leader's voice talking about the human experiments. Yes, Commander Zek said slowly. We have been testing humans. Your species shows unusual survival capabilities. Because we help each other, Yuna said. This cooperation, Commander Zek said like the word tasted bad. It is not efficient. When one is weak, both become weak. No, Jiho said firmly. When one is weak, the strong one helps, and then both become strong. That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense, Yuna said. Look around you. Your crew died because each one only thought about themselves. When their suits failed, no one shared heat. No one worked together to find a solution. They just died. But we shared our warmth, Jiho continued. We combined our knowledge. We took care of each other. That's why we're alive and they're not. Commander Zek looked at the dead Vorthak crew again. Then he looked at the humans' improved shelter and equipment. For the first time, his voice sounded uncertain. This cooperation, he said. Can all humans do this? Yes, Yuna and Jiho said at the same time. When humans are in danger, they help each other, Yuna explained. When one human knows something, they teach other humans. When one human makes something better, they share it with everyone. That is, Commander Zek paused. That is not how the galaxy works. It's how humans work, Jiho said, and it's why we'll keep surviving in places where others can't. The commander talked to his crew in fast, clicking Vorthak language. Jiho couldn't understand the words, but he could tell they were arguing about something important. Finally, Commander Zek turned back to the humans. You will come with us, he said. We will return you to your people. But this conversation never happened. You will not tell other humans about our survival tests. No, Yuna said calmly. We will tell them. Humans share information. That's how we get stronger. If you tell them, there will be problems between our species. There are already problems, Jiho said. You've been lying to us and using us as test subjects. Commander Zek was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Worried. Your cooperation, he said. If all humans can do this, if you can survive where we cannot and improve our technology, what does that mean for the future? Yuna smiled. It means humans aren't the weak species you thought we were. It means we're partners, not servants, Jiho added. As they gathered their things to leave with the Vorthak rescue ship, Jiho thought about everything that had happened. A few days ago, he and Yuna were strangers. Now they had survived together, learned together, and faced down their alien captors together. Ready? Yuna asked as they walked toward the rescue ship. Ready, Jiho said. Behind them, their small shelter stood empty, but it had taught them something important. Humans weren't just another species in the galaxy. They were something special. They were something that could work together, adapt and survive anything. And now the aliens knew it too.